We're on our second last tutorial here of our showcase page, and this one's going to be a fairly straightforward and quick tutorial. We're going to insert a graphic into our next section on our showcase page. It's got a header at the top here. The header goes above the image, and then our image stretches out to fill the screen, and then we have a description that falls underneath that screen or underneath that image. So let's jump in and get started. Tab over to our Dreamweaver and locate where the last section that we just completed, which was the main top there, and place your cursor after that closing main tag and hit the enter return key a couple times. I'm going to delete back so I'm on that same level, and we're going to start with left caret main class main, and we're going to add that second class of light gray background to give us that slightly differentiation between those sections. And then right caret, enter return a couple times. I'm going to delete back so it brings my cursor back, and that brings that closing tag on the same level. Move the cursor up and then tab in, and then div class row. Been very familiar with that. Move your cursor there so you don't accidentally cut off that quotation mark, and then right caret and then enter return a couple times again. Push your cursor back up and then tab in. So we're going to start this off with a heading, and I'm going to go ahead and use the H2 heading here. And this is going to be like some type of graphic design or graphic piece that you might want to represent. So I'm going to call it graphic design artifact. And then move my cursor at the end of that closing H2 tag and then hit the enter return key. And then I'm going to bring in that div class of image container. So div class image container, and right caret there. And I want to be able to link this image up so that if it gets cut off for some reason, you can have someone click on it and it acts as like a link as well. So I'm going to hit the left caret a tag ahref, type that out and hit the enter return key, and then we're going to browse for it in our portfolio images. And this one I'm just reusing that responsive web design PNG that you've seen on the homepage before. I suggest you pick something that you're proud of and something that represents you. So go ahead and click that. And I'm going to go ahead and set the target of this to blank so it opens up in a new page or a new tab, especially if it's an image. Might be a little overkill on that, but I'm just going to play it safe on that. And then right caret there. And then now we need to add that image in between the A tags there, the opening A tag and the closing A tag where my cursor's at. So type in a left caret img src for source, and then hit the enter return key a couple times to get the browse hint to work for us. And then I'm grabbing that same responsive web design PNG image. And then hit the space bar, and we're going to type in the alt tag and type in an appropriate name for this image. And then make sure after you locate that quotation mark there right before the closing A tag there, hit the / and then the right caret to close that image tag out. Okay, below this image we're going to put in a paragraph. So I'm going to hit the enter return key and left caret P. I'm going to bring in that lorem ipsum text that I've used so many different times and paste that in there. So I'm going to toggle over to Chrome to see how our design turned out. And there's our image artifact, and there's our graphic design artifact. Now I'm looking at something and I'm going to make an adjustment here. So follow along with me on this one. I'm not digging how close this text is to the bottom of this image. And in fact, if we scroll up a little bit, you're going to see kind of the same thing here with our video artifact. So I'm going to go ahead and make that adjustment now, even though this one was in the previous video. So if you're following along now, you might want to go back and fix that. But I'm going to toggle back over, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to locate where this image container is right here. So remember how we used a row for each one of those items, and we wrapped that row in there. So I think here's how I'm going to fix this. I'm going to place my cursor right before the paragraph tag. And in fact, I'm going to do this a little bit different actually. So I'm going to find that div class image container. Here's what I'm going to do. Okay, we're going now. I'm going to find that div class image container. I'm going to hit the enter return key once. I'm going to move my caret up and then hit the delete key so it tabs it back. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to close off this row around the H2. So I'm going to make 3 separate rows in here. So I'm going to end up with a row that wraps that graphic design artifact H2. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the image container. So I'm going to hit the enter return key and I'm going to type in a left caret and then div class row again. And then move your cursor after the quotation mark and then right caret. And then I'm going to place my cursor right before that paragraph tag and hit the enter return key so I have a space. And then move my cursor up and then delete back. And so then here I'm going to type in the closing div tag. And then I'm going to add another row to that paragraph. And I've already got this div class, this div closed right here. So I don't need to close that one. So div class row. So now I've got 3 rows in this section, and I want to see if that spaces out some of that text better from that image. So I'm going to toggle over to Chrome, and it does. So we get a little bit more spacing in between the image and the text, and I like that a lot better. So it fits there nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and make that same adjustment up above where we had our YouTube embed. But for this one, I think I only need to wrap the image container in its own row and then the heading and the paragraph tag in its own row. So I'm going to hit the enter return. I'm going to locate that H3 tag, place my cursor right before the beginning of it, and then hit the enter return key. And then move my cursor up and then delete. Space that back so it's on the same level. And then left caret / div. Okay, so I'm closing that row out around that image container. And then hit the enter return key, and at that same level type in div class row and then right caret. So that, remember that div class was already closed right there. So just go back through each of these just to make sure your div classes, your divs are in the right spot. Click on the closing div tags to make sure that they're wrapped around the appropriate content that you want them to be wrapped around. So go ahead and save that, and then I'm going to toggle over to our piece, and then there we go. So that's spaced out just a little bit below the image or the video embed, so that looks a little bit nicer. All right, here we go. So we're on the next tutorial is going to finish out our digital portfolio on the showcase page. We're going to add that feature piece for the 3 different artifacts.